The New York Knicks are beefing something up here with getting Mikal Bridges in a trade and re-signing OG Anunoby, and they could be looking to contend with this Boston Celtics team in this race for the playoffs. But Brad Stevens has some words, has some speaking out to do with these moves that the Knicks made, and we're going to be diving in looking at could the Knicks be that rival to the Boston Celtics next season. Welcome back to Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz with my co-host Chris Gallagher from Knicks Digest. What's up, Chris? How we doing?
I'm doing great right now because last year the Boston Celtics were kind of alone as the one top tier team in the Eastern Conference, but that is no longer the case. The New York Knicks went out there and acquired Mikal Bridges, brought back OG Anunoby. I honestly am so thrilled with these deals. I think the Knicks have built a team that is essentially the anti-Celtics and in every sense of the word can compete with them to go to the NBA Finals next year. I think there's the Celtics and the Knicks at the top, and then rest of them, if everyone stays healthy, we have a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals coming our way.
I think so too. And I think that if the Knicks weren't injured, we would have seen that a little bit sooner. But now with these new implications, obviously with them getting these new players and bringing in Mikal Bridges, it's going to be a lot tougher. So we're going to be diving in, looking at this battle. So if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you want to stay up to date. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and go check out Chris over on Knicks Digest. But as we mentioned, obviously the New York Knicks went out and got Mikal Bridges from the Nets. It was 4 first picks, unprotected, another first that was protected, and Bojan Bogdanovic. And they also re-signed Anunoby to a 5-year, $212 million extension. As we all know, this Boston Celtics team is strapped into the second apron with their players, but the Knicks are looking to get close to it as well, with already having Randall, Brunson, McBride, and additional assets already added to this Villanova squad. Now, as we mentioned, the Knicks do want to get on that quest. They do want to win that championship, and Brad Stevens had some words to say about this. Brad Stevens said that it surely looks like they are going to be really, really good, and also said that a lot of these teams that stockpile a bunch of picks that worked hard to get for a long time, and then each of these teams decide when they're going to cash those in. And they obviously have a great team, so they feel like that was a really good time to cash in those picks. So, Chris, I want to get your thoughts on Brad Stevens' quote here because he is giving you guys some credit. I know the Celtics kind of did something similarly this last couple of years, stockpiling drafts picks to get some players. What are your kind of thoughts on this move for the Knicks?
I love what the Knicks have done. I see people basically saying on social media, the Knicks overpaid for Bridges, and then they overpaid for OG Anunoby. They have a super team full of role players. Here's the thing, and this could sound negative. I don't mean it negatively. The Celtics, and prior to them, the Denver Nuggets, just won championships off of super teams of role players. Yes, they had stars. The Nuggets had the best player in the NBA. The Celtics had 2 All-Stars on their team and a group of 3 other guys who either could be named All-Stars on most given years or were All-Stars at some point in the rest of that starting lineup. The Knicks went out and just did the exact same thing. Yeah, they don't have 5 different guys who are going to be All-Stars on any given year, but they have a super team full of role players, which is a good thing. It's how the Celtics went and won the championship. No one on the Celtics who played meaningful minutes in the playoffs was a below average NBA player. The Knicks just went out there, mimicked that, and in my mind, to upset some Celtics fans, I think the Knicks did it better when it comes to the bench unit. I think the Knicks have the best bench in the NBA. I think that is the key difference maker between these two teams. Yes, the Celtics have a better starting 5. The Knicks have a much better bench. This is 2 teams that were built similarly and now control the Eastern Conference. I think, yes, if a different team, any other team in the NBA went out there and paid OG Anunoby $42 million or went out and gave 4 unprotected firsts and a protected first rounder and a pick swap for Mikal Bridges, yes, it would be an overpay. With the New York Knicks, these players are valued higher to them than to other teams around the league. It's not an overpay for the Knicks. The same way that one could argue the money that Jrue Holiday just got from the Celtics a few months ago, for most teams, you'd call that an overpay. Maybe not as much for the Boston Celtics because the fit on the roster. There's things like that that have to be looked at where value of a certain player very much will vary on teams. I don't think the Knicks overpaid at all. I think they paid the appropriate value to form a team that, for good reason, has the second best odds, only behind the Celtics and tied with Denver to win the NBA Finals next year.
Now, you brought up some valid points, Chris. I like how you mentioned how the Nuggets and the Celtics went out to go and create these rosters fit for them to win a championship. And I think that's kind of the direction that the NBA is going to see now with the Nuggets, Celtics. Now, even the Knicks kind of going in that direction of building it. It's not going to be superstars, 3 stars coming together like we see with the Suns with Booker, Beal, and Kevin Durant. It's going to be guys that are going to take roles and take like restrictions back to make sure that they go out and win a championship. You're going to see Julius Randle have to sacrifice some things. You're going to have to see guys like Jalen Brunson sacrifice some roles on the offensive side. And you're going to see guys like Bridges and obviously OG Anunoby become really to life on that defensive side, which I know you have been preaching over on the Knicks Digest over there. And ultimately, that's where it kind of gets into that rivalry probably starting. I know that the Knicks and Celtics, personally me, I have friends that are Knicks fans, and it's never been any like banter back and forth over the last couple of years because they've never been really competitive at the top of the East. But at this rate, it's looking like they can be. Obviously, last season, the Celtics and the Knicks were both the number 2 seeds, and with teams like the Bucks and teams like the Sixers still to make moves in this off season, Magic, Pacers, Cavs, a little bit younger, some question marks with the Cavs and the Heat as well, not making any moves. I think it's for sure to say that the Celtics and the Knicks are going to be those top 2 teams at the end of the Eastern Conference. And I do think that it might be a little bit early, but I think this is the projection for the Eastern Conference Finals at this very moment. Celtics versus Knicks, regardless of what the Knicks do with, Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson or any of those question marks at the center position.
Yeah, I think another huge factor in it is that how well both these organizations are ran. The Knicks, for so long, and rightfully so, were made fun of in the NBA's punchline because everything they did felt so random or backwards from what any NBA team in their right mind should do. Leon Rose, the Knicks executive, came in there and has been as good of an executive as basically anyone in the NBA. I think he's right up there with Brad Stevens, who's been phenomenal. And I thought the Porziņģis trade was questionable. I was dead wrong, obviously. I'm happy to say that I was wrong about that one. But what the Knicks have done, it's put them into looking like a high-class organization, a team that has resources, a team that is willing to do a lot to win games, that's willing to go out there and spend money to form a winning team, to form a team that doesn't only have guys on it who are good, they have winners on that team. I mean, obviously the Nova Knicks, as we call them, you got 4 guys who won a championship together. You got a guy like OG Anunoby who has a ring under his belt. You have other players who are winners. Julius Randle comes from that tree of being mentored by Kobe. I remember Julius's first season with the Knicks. There was this game against the Nets back when the Knicks were supposed to get all KD and Kyrie. And in retrospect, I don't see why they would have went there. The Knicks were a terrible franchise at the moment back then. But they brought in Julius, and Julius had a phenomenal game. And they lost by 3 because Julius got called for a travel that I don't think was a travel to this day. And he literally took a chair, this is when the stadiums were empty, and just flung it. You could tell this was killing him that he was on a losing Knicks team. He wanted to turn things around. This is a team full of winners. Same way the Celtics are. I want to come on here and be a hater because it's fun, but at the same time, they're winners. The Knicks are also winners. I don't see that with too many other teams in the Eastern Conference. I think that has a massive factor when you look into it. When you look into these teams both having good bench units, even though the Celtics have no excuse because they're a second apron team, but they do it anyway. So that works. But yeah, I think that Brad Stevens was spot on. I think that he would know. He's been a great executive. He was a great coach. These are 2 teams that know how to form winning basketball teams, and I think it is going to pay off for them. It's hard to imagine that a team like Philadelphia can make some huge move with where it seems like Paul George isn't leaving California, or Klay Thompson. If it's not the Warriors, it's Orlando. And outside of that, there's not too many moves left that I could see Philly or Milwaukee making that is really going to put them into the same tier that the Knicks and Celtics are in now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Celtics and the Knicks have really put them in that upper echelon at the Eastern Conference right now. And until we see a move either from in a young team like Indiana or Orlando to kind of maybe rise their stock, I still think that the Celtics and the Knicks are up there. You mentioned the bench, though. You mentioned how the Celtics have a good bench. The Knicks do have some guys, but you guys are going to have to look at some potential guys to get on the market now with the veteran minimums, due to the fact that you guys are a rising salary cap team. Are there any guys just kind of last thing. Any guys that you're kind of looking at possibly, or just any news on that, just to maybe rival the Sam Hausers or the Peyton Pritchards, because those are our bench guys, you know.
Well, we now have the all-time leader in single three-pointers in a season on our bench as our sixth man, Dante DiVincenzo, as he will be taking over that six-man role, which is actually what he was signed for. The Knicks were considering moving quickly anyway. That's why they brought DiVincenzo in a year ago. Obviously, a phenomenal signing, became the starting shooting guard. He's going to go back to that six-man role. You have Josh Hart in there. You got Deuce McBride, who's been phenomenal. You now got a young guard. Obviously, I don't see where he's going to fit in, but a young guard in Tyler Kolek, who I think is going to be an instant impact player. I don't think Isaiah Hartenstein is going to stay. I wish he would. There's just not enough money that the Knicks have, and I think a team is going to offer more than the Knicks can offer. The Knicks can give him 4 years, $72.5 million. I feel like a team is going to give him more than that, and if he wants to go chase the bag, I'm all for it. I'll be happy for the guy that he's getting his money. The Knicks are going to be in the first apron, which means their mid-level exception is going to be $5.2 million. That's what they could give someone per year. That's enough for a Nick Richards, for potentially a Goga Batadze. There's guys out there who the Knicks will be able to sign, who they've shown interest in. I've said for a while, I think it's going to be Nick Richards at this point. I think he's a guy who the Knicks targeted in the draft a couple of years back before Charlotte got him. I think he's a fine backup center. He plays similarly to Mitchell Robinson. Tibbs likes his centers to play a similar style. He wants his backup center to be a little worse version of the starting one. The Knicks also have a big man in Jericho Sims. They drafted with the last pick in the draft, so obviously not some hyped up guy, but they got another one of the draft in Ariel Hukporti. So I'm curious to see what happens. I think with the Knicks, the biggest thing is their big man situation. And if I'm completely off, correct me, but it's almost feeling that way with the Celtics that one day it could be, okay, who's our backup center? What if Al Horford just comes back and starts playing like he's 39 years old?
No, you're not wrong, and that's one of the big question marks that Celtics fans had at this draft when they didn't go after a center or a big man, especially with Luke Cornett, especially with Xavier Tillman, entering that a free agency. The Celtics might only be able to bring one of them back due to being a second apron team. So it is going to be tough for this team to bring back. But it is nice to hear about the Knicks and to figure out that their kind of bench roles and to kind of match them with the Celtics. Because as we know, obviously, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby kind of the match to match Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You obviously have the Porziņģis, Randall, kind of sacrificing role. You got Jrue Holiday and Derrick White to kind of go with the other guards and Jalen Brunson and, Dante DiVincenzo, got Mitch Robinson, Josh Hart. Those kind of guys can kind of go at our Al Horfords and Sam Hausers, and then you get into the nitty gritty. But comparing them, it seems they're very, very similar, and it's looking like what we've been talking about in this video, that it's going to be a very, very fun rivalry, something to make sure to circle on your calendars when the Celtics play the Knicks. And we'll have, probably a bunch of post games, bunch of reactions, bunch of stuff, going back and forth once the season starts, talking about this Knicks Celtics team. Because if it starts heating up, if these two teams are really cementing themselves at the top of the ladder, it's going to be fun in a competitive Eastern Conference.
I also have one quick prediction to make right now. Usually the NBA season begins on October 22nd. I'm telling you right now, 7:30 p.m., first game of the season. It's Knicks Celtics. It has to be, right? You have to do Knicks Celtics. Do it in Boston. I know they like to have it in MSG. Do it in Boston. You all won the championship. Your fan base deserves it. Do that game in Boston. Everyone is tuning in to see arguably the NBA's two best teams go at it. Perfect matchups when you look at it. Jrue Holiday, still arguably the best on-ball defender in the NBA, guarding a new superstar in Jalen Brunson. You got OG and Mikal guarding Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the forward duo that just won a championship. You have the lengthy, athletic Mitchell Robinson guarding the lengthy, athletic, in a completely different way, Porziņģis. That is a matchup made in heaven. Go out there and do that, NBA. We all want to see it.
Yeah, I agree. And that make that happen. We saw a couple years ago. I know you definitely remember this game. Opening day, Celtics versus Knicks. The Knicks won. Marcus Smart hit that buzzer beater to some OT. The Knicks ended up winning that game. But a game like that, especially with these high stakes, would be fantastic and would do records for the NBA if they got that as that first game. But thank you so much, Chris, for hopping on Celtics Digest. We appreciate you so much. If you guys want to make sure you stay up to the date with the Knicks, I know they are a Celtics possible rival, but if you want to make sure you stay up to the date with all their news, with free agency, trades, everything like that, go check out Chris and his co-host Dariel over on Knicks Digest. They do a fantastic job over there. Without further ado, though, we're going to be signing off. We broke down this little bit of a rivalry starting. Brad Stevens speaking out on the Knicks getting Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. I'll peace out from here. See you guys later. Catch you in the next video. And go Boston Celtics.